Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today I'm going to do a Star War. Specifically, this Bandai kit, which includes two models, a Star Destroyer in 4500th scale, and the second Death Star in 2.7 millionth scale, which is a pretty uncommon scale, but I guess this thing is meant to be kind of big, like the size of a moon or something. There's nothing on the back of the box, only blackness, so I didn't film it on the rotatey thing, but this picture should suffice anyway. Inside the box we find a sprue, or I guess more correctly, it's 4 sprues that haven't been separated. There's not a lot of parts here, but there is quite a bit of detail. It is still a very small scale model though, so you probably can't really specifically pick out all of the greeblies and model tank and plane bits that they would have used on the original model. It doesn't have that kind of detail, but it does still look really good. The plastic is very white, so it's a bit hard to see some of that detail, which is a bit unfortunate, but hopefully you can see enough of it in this video. There's also a set of sprues for the Death Star. Death Star 2 I guess would be the more technical term, or the second Death Star, but it is a bit more of a mouthful to say. This is in a different colour plastic. It's a bit more of a grey, so it shows the details a little bit better. This is in 2.7 millionth scale, and the model ends up being a little bit smaller than a tennis ball, so while the detail is pretty good, you are not really going to see any specific things. It's a model that represents something rather big from quite a distance, so I would say the detail is quite convincing in that way, a little bit less so when you look up close. I might be waffling a bit. I don't really have a lot to say about the details here, and I don't really feel like there is much to say, other than it looks quite good. Because there are 2 models in this kit, there are also 2 stands. Unlike the other Bandai Star Wars kits I've built, these stands are moulded in clear plastic.
You've only built one other kit with a stand like this, Herbert?
Yeah, well, I've looked in a box of another one and it had a black stand. I'm not sure which I like better, and it probably doesn't really matter. You also get a pair of stickers, and you would stick these onto the stands. Obviously at this scale there isn't going to be any visible markings or anything like that, so there are no decals or stickers for the actual models. The instructions come on this fairly simple fold-out. The front shows some pictures of both models, which is probably to be expected. There's also a colour guide featuring 3 shades of light grey, and a lot of text that for some reason I can't read. The instructions are in the middle 2 pages, and these are quite simple really. Neither model is particularly complicated. I did have a couple of moments of confusion where I wasn't totally sure of the orientation of some parts, but it was nothing I couldn't figure out eventually. Or I got them totally wrong and don't even know it. You decide. Overall, they are good instructions and shouldn't be too hard to understand and follow. The back page has some warnings, notes, and sprue diagrams. Let us now use these instructions to guide us in our plastic joining adventures. I say plastic joining rather than gluing because you can put this together without any glue at all, if you prefer to do that, and everything does have a pretty good tight fit. I just personally prefer to glue things so I know they'll stay together. The first parts to go together are the, I guess, central part and rear part? Is there even a front or rear, or any sides or anything like that? Not really, it's a sphere. If you think me not knowing what the parts are called when I build a tank is bad, this is not going to be any better. If it makes you mad, I'm not sorry. Anyway, these parts go together really easily. Next comes a pair of decks. I guess if this was the real thing these would be quite a few decks actually, but this is small enough that it looks like one deck, though there is 2 of them. Whatever. I think I put these in the right way up, but there was a tiny bit of confusion for me as to which way they're oriented. They look good though, even if I did get them wrong. I put some glue in there just to make sure that everything stays where I want it. I put the glue in there after pressing the parts into place because I wasn't totally confident at first that I was doing it right. I guess it's kind of like test fitting, but I didn't remove the parts afterwards, I just added glue. If you're using a thin plastic cement like I am, in this case SMS extra thin, this will just seep in between the joints and form a nice bond with no mess. Next comes this large side chunk. That's a good name for it, I guess. I like how this looks. It creates a nice cavernous internal area with pretty good detail. It makes the model really interesting to look at. Another one goes on just across from that. Very easy to get into place. Here's another part that I wasn't totally confident on the positioning of. It's like an isolated small chunk of exterior plating. Maybe there's something important under there. I think I got this on correctly in the end, but it is kind of hard to tell. I'm sure if it's wrong, some angy Star Wars nerd will be along to yell at me any moment now. This big central chunk? Equatorial chunk? I don't know. The two halves of the main chunk go together nice and easy, and then, again, glue. Just so that it stays that way. Also so that the glue god won't smite me. This little bit that hangs down goes on here, again, nice and easy. That assembly can then be pressed into the model like so. There's two big rectangular openings to guide it, so this is pretty easy. Though it did need a bit of pressure before it would sit how I think it should. Another deck segment goes here, which is what I've decided these are called. I was a bit less confused by this one than the two in the upper hemisphere. The two side wall things go on next. Nothing tricky about this. Just like the upper section, this forms a nice looking opening. Its being under construction really does make for an interesting looking model, and I think this would be pretty cool to have in a larger scale. Not too much larger, wouldn't have the space, but it would be cool. Now for some more external platey bits. These go around the equator. Probably not really the appropriate term, but I'm using it anyway. Maybe there's something important to protect here as well. These do slot into place quite easily, and I assume that means they would also come out easily, so we'll use some glue to take care of that. It's looking good so far, though we're not quite finished yet. I install this hat.
A hat, Herbert?
Yes, a hat. Don't argue with me, I know what the technical terms are. This goes on nice and easy. It did need a little pressure, but that really shouldn't be too much of a challenge. The bottom comes next, and the only thing that really makes me think these are top or bottom parts is that the bottom has a hole for mounting the stand. It goes on like the top did. A little pressure was needed, but nothing too difficult. Getting pretty close to completion now. There's just a few pieces that are mostly external plating. I guess that's what you would call it anyway. Or maybe the hull? Who knows. Like pretty much all of the other parts, these go on nice and easy, and you'll need to apply some pressure to make sure the gaps stay away. This is one of the reasons I use glue. The parts will stay together pretty well without it, but some gaps can form, and the glue should stop that. This big final chunk goes on, and we've got one angry space ball completed. Pretty simple to put together, but I think you'll agree the result is really good. There's a lot more depth to it than I was expecting. Obviously this model is spherical, and once we put it down, it's probably going to roll away. So, we make a stand. This is easy. You just glue the vertical part into the base, and there are 3 slots there for a little bit of customization. I'm not sure it matters too much for the Death Star, but I chose the middle slot for both stands, and you might as well make both of them at the same time because why not? There's a little receptacle bit that goes into the bottom of the model, and I didn't glue this in, because you might as well just take it out when it's painting time. I plop the receptacle onto the ball end of the stand, and it's done. One model holding device. Well, 2 actually. We'll spin that around on the spinny thing a bit later, because now it's time to build the Star Destroyer. The first thing to do is install these strips of ship? Technical terms, obviously. There's one of these on either side, and they do go into place nice and easily. Again, I'm obviously applying glue here, and pressing the parts as firmly into place as I can. Simple enough. Before putting the other half of the hull on, there's this recess? Is it a hangar bay? Whatever it is, it goes on here. I did have a little bit of trouble determining the correct way around this should go, but again, in the end, I think I got it right. I press it in nice and firm, and then it's time to add the lower half of the hull. This is pretty much as easy as it looks, and you've got to admit, it does look easy. That's not just me making it look easy, anybody could do this. Anyway, I add a bit of extra glue, particularly at the front, just to make sure that it stays together. Now I turn my attentions to the butt.
Another technical term?
Damn right. There are 3 huge engine thingies that go onto this part. They're keyed, so they'll only go on one way, though I'm not really sure how much that matters. They seem pretty symmetrical. These go in nice and easy, and I think the entire assembly looks quite interesting. Why not then insert that into the rear of the ship? There is a particular way this should go on. You just have to look at the parts and you can see how they should line up. You may find a little gap on some of the edges between the hull and the engine assembly, but that should be easy enough to take care of with a little bit of glue and pressure. Now it's time to build the upper sections of the ship. I slot these wall parts, I guess you might call them, onto the bridge supporty thing. I press it all together, but I don't add glue yet. This is because I'm not totally sure how this is going to interact with the other parts just yet. Then I glue the side parts onto this kind of house-shaped chunk. Nothing especially difficult about this, just make sure that you're putting the correct parts on either side. The front part comes next, and I found I had to apply a fair bit of pressure here to make it as gap-free as I could. I follow that by slotting the bridge support thing I just built onto the rear. Now that I know how that's going to go together, and it all fits nice and neatly, I apply some glue. Next, I build the bridge. I am kind of just assuming that this section is the bridge, but maybe it isn't. Who knows? This first part isn't too hard to glue on, just a bit of pressure and it's done. The front part is a little bit more fiddly. Not too fiddly, but a little bit. It looks good, so it's probably worth it. I then glued this assembly onto the bridge support bit. Again, this needed a bit of pressure, but nothing too serious. It makes sense to then glue this whole assembly onto the top of the ship, so that's what I do. I put plenty of glue in the appropriate places, and then press it on. Nice and easy. That's pretty much how all of the parts in this kit go on. You've probably figured that out by now. I'll still keep saying it though. There's just a couple of small details to add now, like these two domey things. I'm pretty sure during the stream in which I built this, somebody in chat said that they were shield emitters, and I guess I'll take their word for it. And they go on without any hassle. Then maybe this is the main bridge, or a roof rack? Whatever it is, it goes into the two mounting slots on the top here. And that's that. We've now got a really cool looking angry space triangle.
That's not what it's called.
Quiet you. I already built the second stand, and you probably don't really need to see it done twice, and if you do, just skip back a bit. Easy. I put the model in place atop its stand, and it's done. If you wanted, you could put the stickers on the stands, and that will help you know which is which just in case you forget, and obviously I haven't done that yet. Anyway, we've got two really awesome little models. They are in very, very different scales, but I don't think that really matters, though a couple of tiny little Star Destroyers to hang out with the Death Star would be pretty cool. Would they even be visible at 2.7 millionth scale? I've no idea. Anyway, that's the Bandai Star Wars Death Star 2 and Star Destroyer kit completed. That really doesn't roll off the tongue, does it? I figure we might as well spin these on the Spinny Boy separately. Bit easier to focus on them that way. I'm pretty happy with both of these models, but I'm especially happy with the Death Star. Something fully armed and operational battle station. It just looks so interesting to me. I think all of the incomplete decks and open sections are really cool. This is the kind of model you'd really be looking at from a bit of a distance, so maybe it doesn't quite look so detailed up close. I mean, the scale of this thing means that you're not going to see any fine detail anyway, and I don't know what fine detail one might expect to see, and maybe I'm waffling a bit, but I know what I mean, damn it. The scale thing means you could get away with a very simple paint job. In fact, I think that would be the better choice. Trying to overdo it would probably not end up looking all that good. A grey base coat and some grey highlighting is about all you'd really need. Just a little bit of dry brushing really, and it actually looks kind of okay without paint. If you're not much of a modeler, and you don't want to paint it, this would look fine as like a desk decoration or something as it is. That's going to upset some people, isn't it? Obviously it will look better painted, but you don't have to. I guess there isn't really much to say about the realism or anything like that here, because despite what some people think, Star Wars is not real. Now that's gonna get me killed, isn't it? I had a good run, I guess. I'm sure there are comparisons that can be made with the on-screen model, but I'm just not that interested in making them really, to be honest, for either of the models. I do think they both look quite good though, and they should satisfy most Star Wars fans. Unfortunately, the Death Star being moulded in white plastic does make it a little bit harder to see against the white backdrop, but this is the video I had to work with, and it looked fine on my phone when I filmed it, so this is what we get. Anyway, it does look quite good. Because the ship is only 4500th scale.
Only?
Yep, only 4500th scale. I feel like you could probably add a bit more detail to the paint job. Not much, and it is kind of just a plain grey or white ship, but I think you could do a bit more without going overboard. maybe a little bit of weathering or some tiny scorch marks as battle damage or something like that. You could do something cool with it, is what I'm trying to say. Both of the models in this kit, and I do like that you get 2 models in one box for a pretty low price, both of them are rather good looking little models, and as I presume you saw through the video, they were pretty quick and easy to put together. I managed to get both of these together in one stream, which I'm pretty sure was under 2 hours. As I say quite often, the distractions of streaming do add quite a bit to the time it takes to build a model, so this kit could be built really quickly if you wanted, though I do recommend taking your time and enjoying the build. That's what the hobby is all about. One of the reasons it is so quick to build, and in my so far kind of limited experience with other Bandai kits, there is almost no cleanup needed at all. The moulding is really good and neat, and who doesn't like that? It makes for a good relaxing build, and sometimes that's exactly what I need. So I will definitely be building more of these Bandai Star Wars kits. I've already got a TIE Fighter set in my stash, and I'm pretty sure I've got a Millennium Falcon around here somewhere too. Anyway, if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to put those in the comments section below. If you've built one of these or any other cool models and you would like to share, why not drop by our friendly Discord community and share some pictures? We'd love to see what you've done. If you'd like to watch me building kits like this live, head on over to my Twitch channel, which is where I happen to do live streams, believe it or not. The link is in the description below, and if you've not already done so, why not subscribe, follow, ring the bell, become a patron if you'd like to see my videos a bit early, or maybe just come say hi on Discord or Twitch when I'm live next. And if you're feeling really helpful, why not share this video with your friends or anybody you think might get something out of it, or anybody that just likes Star Wars, I guess. Links to all of my things are in the description below, and, as always, I shall return soon. So, until then, be excellent to each other, have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching. Farewell.